to Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. Each show is filled with news, reviews, interviews, and expert advice from the industry. All for you, the author. And now, here's our host, H.D. Campbell.
Hi, welcome to the Author's Corner with H.D. Campbell. As always, I'm your host, H.D. Campbell. We're here for another installment, the second show of the new year, which we're going to have, again, two powerhouse authors and a surprise from one of our authors, which I will reveal later. The first author we have is Maurice Bishop. He has a powerful testimony, powerful books. You'll hear a lot more about him as time goes by. And there's just so much from this brother. Next, we're going to hear from Laqueisha Malone, an entrepreneur, an author, powerhouse, sounds familiar, probably a show host or two you might know that does all the same thing, but you'll get to know her later. So when we come back, we're going to start the ball rolling with Maurice Bishop.
From the romantic mind of Janelle Irving comes her debut masterpiece, Let Me Love You Down. Follow the story of Jessica Watkins, a 22-year-old first-time high school teacher. She meets 17-year-old Kyle Rogers, a smooth-talking but soft-spoken senior. A near tragedy brings Kyle and Jessica together as the best of friends and confidants. Eventually, the two fall in love, but with Jessica being Kyle's teacher brings major complications. Read Jessica Watkins' story in Let Me Love You Down, exclusively at Amazon and coming soon to Nook and your favorite bookstore.
Hi, this is Luna Charles. This is Love, Laugh, and Live with Passion. I wrote it for the simple and honest reason that everybody kept asking me why and how am I able to have small kids, 5 and 8, work a full-time job, write books, and take care of my family. Trust me, dinner's on the table around 7:30. It's simple. I know what I want out of life. I've read what I need to do to get it out of life. It's not rocket science. It's really not a secret. It's just following simple steps every day and knowing in your heart you're after a goal and you want to accomplish it. And if you really, really want something, nobody has to force you to do it. 22 exercises, 22 weeks, half a year, not even, to make your life where you need it to be. Stop making excuses and go after the life you want. Love, laugh, and live with passion. It's very simple. Do it with passion and live and love and have a wonderful life.
Welcome back to the Author's Corner. I've taken on a lot of assignments over the past few months, in the past few weeks, which is why I've been on hiatus. I started taking on a role as the co-owner of a publishing company with the great Tammy Jernigan. It's called Creative Inspirations Publishing. In fact, you've seen some of the authors last year, Sunny Lai and Monique Daniels, who basically had interviews with our show. And last week's show with Sunny BX, Sunny Bronx, who was also one of our authors. You'll see a lot of great things coming from them, and we're going to do special shows about them here coming soon. Next author, though, however, is a guy who basically needs no introduction, who's great in his own right. His name is Maurice Bishop. And what influenced your writing?
I was actually 12 years old when I started writing. What actually influenced me start writing was pretty much everything that I've been through in my life. So pretty much all the emotions that I have inside of me, it actually influenced me and inspired me to write. All because of the obstacles that I've been through.
Okay. Now tell me a little bit about the obstacles, if you don't mind.
Okay. Really, my obstacle was I was actually feeling depressed. I felt like I was the black sheep of the family. It was actually my family, or really my mom and my dad, who I thought showed favoritism to my brother and sister. My brother and sister were off to college, had a degree. When it came to me, I had to go to college. I wound up dropping out of college. And even though I dropped out of college, I just pretty much was doing my own thing. So I felt like I was one of the black sheep.
Okay. And how'd you overcome that?
Um, Honestly, it really the way I overcame it. It took a lot of mistakes in my life because
All right.
I was kind of hard headed.
Hey, we all were at some point. I understand. Trust me. So.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, later down the life, like pretty much in my book, I'm pretty much, I'm in the army, I was deployed to Iraq for 13 months, like the whole year. During that deployment, one of my soldiers actually killed himself with 16. I actually felt guilty of that because I was kind of very hard on him, and it was really because, he did a lot of stupid things, like sniffing cane there, which is actually prohibited, from the army. We're not allowed to do that. As well as leaving his M16 on an Iraqi bus, as well as losing his ID card, which is also like that's not very good at all. So because I was so hard on him, he wound up taking his life. Now I know that there are other soldiers in my unit that were, probably making fun of him and things like that, but I feel as though that I was the one that was like more hard on him than anything because he was one of my soldiers. And I felt guilty, after the fact that he wound up killing himself.
And come full circle, how do you feel about it now? Does it still affect you like right now, or?
Right now, it took me a long time. It wasn't until like maybe 2 or 3 years ago that, even though I'm never going to forget about it, it's something that I'm never going to forget. I'm always remember it. But I can also like look back in my past and say that maybe I could have went about the situation a little bit more differently, and I guess try to be like substance with them, and he just yelling at him, and instead of just keeping a calm, clear head, and just really talk to him, like a human being. I felt as though I really wasn't really, talking to him like a human being, a brother. Like we're supposed to, as far as the army, we're like battle buddies. That's what we call it, battle buddies. And battle buddies never leave a fallen comrade. So in this situation, I feel as though I should have just come down, had a one-on-one, heart to heart with them, make the situation differently.
Okay. Well, now I'm switching gears a little bit because I got off. So I just wanted to know more about your service because I always like to thank military men for the service, and everything you do. So no matter what you do, you're doing it for us. So I appreciate that. So coming back, no problem. Coming back full circle, how did that all influence your? In other words, how did all get fueled into your writing?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How did all that you've been through come back full circle into your writing?
With my writing, it actually came down to, I feel as though with that situation, I had a deeper intellect and really a deeper experience, as far as writing. So, before, I could just write, short stories and things like that, but something that actually happened in my life, in a real life situation, it becomes more personal. So when it became more personal, I started becoming more detailed. I became more detail-oriented with my writing. So with the real life situation experience that I've been through, everything I write about is more detail-oriented because I'm so emotionally, bound, with everything that I put inside of me. That leads me and inspires me to actually write on this script.
Okay. Well, who are some of your writing influences? Anybody in particular you admired, or anybody that you wanted to emulate, or what that just, or it's just that all you?
Man, I have a lot of them. At a young age, I was always looking at Brave New Voices. If anybody that don't know what that is, it's pretty much the youth poetry slam. It's pretty much from different cities, pretty much poets from all different parts of the world that actually go to Washington D.C. to actually perform their poems. their pieces, and actually had judges that actually judge them. So the poets that I can actually say that really influenced me is he could go by the name of D. Young, which his full name is actually Brooke. He's actually from Brooklyn, New York, and he's very well known in the poetry world. So him and Joshua Bennett, who was part of not now, but he's part of the Philly Poetry Slam team, and he's another well-known and well-respected, poet as well. And I believe another one is like I said, I have a lot of them, but I would say Jackson Dance, who was also from who was also part of the New York Youth Poetry Slam. Jackson Man, she's another one that's a big influence. In her pieces, she's very detail oriented, and everything she's saying is like the heart, and it's very aggressive. Her voice is very strong. So that's one of my also influences.
Okay. Well, tell me about your current project.
My current project, with this second book, when I wrote it, it was, I'll be honest, believe it or not, I didn't even know that I was going to come out.
Well, first give us the name of your current book.
I'm sorry?
First give us the name of your current book.
The name of my first book?
No, your current book.
The name of my current book is called Pain Living in My Pen.
Okay. And give me a little bit of synopsis of that.
Pain Living in My Pen is pretty much a compilation of poems that I've actually written, that will move people emotionally. It's not only just poetry pieces, but it's also poetry pieces that I actually perform on stage. When I go to open mic nights, and poetry cafes, I actually perform these pieces. A lot of it is different topics that talk about, my life, such as, the PTSD. I have a poem called My Son, which is about, when my son died, when he was 1 year old. I also have love poems, that is dedicated to my wife. So it is also, it's all different topics, but all these poetry that's in the book, it's all inspiration, pretty much showing my struggle and how I overcame it.
Okay. I'm gonna go backwards for a second. I want to know about your current title because I wanted to get leaning towards another question. Moving back, who are you published under?
I'm actually published with Strawberry Publication. The person that actually owns Strawberry Publication is Laqueisha Malone.
Okay.
She's self-publisher.
And how'd your relationship start with the publisher?
Man, it wasn't until I was looking through on my Facebook. I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually listing every single publisher that I could find that would benefit me. And a lot of them offer good games. Like any other publisher, nobody's going to sell their publishing company, they're not good or anything. They're always going to sell it to the best of their ability. So it just started out with just me just listing all the poetry companies that I saw and then calling them. Every time I call and I speak to them, everything they sell to me sounds good, but it just wasn't clicking to me. But when I spotted on Strawberry Publications, I so happened to talk to Laqueisha Malone. And when I engaged in a conversation with her, it wasn't just business, it felt family. It felt like, she really wanted to help me. I had so much passion for it. So it wasn't just business. It felt like a friendship. It felt like, it was business, but it was more of a family. It's like family organic. And I felt comfortable with that. And I actually believed in her work. Everything that she said that she believed in, I actually believe her. And that's what pretty much compelled me to actually use her as my publisher.
Okay. And and now backtracking, did you publish both books under the publisher?
No. My first publisher was called Exulon Press. Believe it or not, I published that book when I was in Iraq. So when I was actually in Baghdad, and this was a time when I don't know if you know about mortals and everything, but they pretty much shooting mortals at that time and things like that. So I was kind of like in an uncomfortable pretty much in an uncomfortable place. You know, it was a lot going down there. And at that time, I didn't know if I was going to live or die or not. So I wanted to leave a legacy by publishing a book to define and make it at least some part of me will actually shine through and people could see my life story, through it.
Okay. So, going back to Iraq for a second, how long were you stationed in Iraq?
How long? It's been 13 months since I've been in Iraq.
Okay. And during your time there, so a lot of that did influence your first book, your first writings and everything. Now that you've left Iraq, you've published a second book. Has a lot of your, shall I say, reasons or influences changed since you've left?
I want to say it still became the same, but at the same time, as time went by, I still gained more wisdom and still had more experience and obstacles that came my way. So it was always a new poem for me, so it's always something for me to write about because I always went through certain struggles and obstacles in my life. So I still continue. I think the only difference is with me writing my second book, I actually became more of a stronger person, than ever. So I really believe that writing became even more powerful, and because I gained so much wisdom, and I can actually look back in my life and see all the mistakes that I've made. Actually, grew up and started correcting it myself.
Okay. So, of all the poetry that you write, what is your favorite genre of poetry?
So you said my favorite poem that I wrote?
Your favorite genre of poetry?
Oh, I don't think I really have a favorite genre, but...
But what's your favorite poem? Yeah, what's your favorite poem then? See, I wasn't going to ask that. You the one brought it up. Now I'm going to bring it. Now, what's your favorite poem? See?
Well, no, I would say my favorite poem is Pain. I think that's probably like my favorite poem. It was actually a piece that I actually performed while I was in Iraq. And little did I know that when I performed it, I wound up crying in the midst of my performance. Because everything, because even though I wrote it down, I still felt it. I mean, I felt everything when I wrote it down and stuff, but to actually perform it in front of people, because nobody never heard of the piece, and it was my first time performing the piece, so when I finally performed it, I in the midst of my performance, I started crying in the midst of it,
Wow.
and then even though I was going to really finish the piece, but I managed to finish it though, so it definitely touched a lot of soldiers out there that listen.
Okay. So where can we read Pain?
Pain is actually in like I said, the book Pain Living in Pain, but Pain is actually pretty much about me actually on the block, in my neighborhood, pretty much playing cards and everything, and I had my friend with me, one of my homegirls, when she was like, I always looked at her as a sister, but at the same time, we was pretty, we was very, very close. But it wasn't until, in the midst of us like playing cards and everything, she was shot. They was shooting at us, and when I pretty much dropped down to the ground, next to me, I saw her lying down, all bloodied up and everything. So it was kind of like a shock because it was something that never happened to me before. And that's all. But that's pretty much what that poem is about. It's actually about me telling the audience, how I felt, what I went through, pretty much the emotional mind state that I felt, and how I felt as though I was the only person going through this pain. But then in the midst of it, I heard a voice of a man saying, "You know nothing of pain." So I'm not gonna give it away.
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely a remedy to it. There's always a remedy to this piece, so it's definitely very powerful.
Okay. I'm going to switch gears, and I'm going to ask you a very uncomfortable question. You said you write love poems for your wife.
Right.
So we take it that you write a lot of love poetry as well.
Yes.
All right. Now I'm just gonna make this message out there, ladies. This man just said he's married. Do not blow up his inbox. Yeah, I'm warning you now. I don't know. I don't know if it, I don't know. I don't know what his wife will do, but I'm just letting you sisters know. But tell me about some of your love poetry. Is it like, I know it's exclusively for your wife, but what influences that? Does your wife influence all your poetry? All your romantic poetry, or?
Yeah, most definitely. For someone to actually like support me the way that she do, and somebody to really be real. I think in my life I never really, actually, not really. I know that I've never had a woman like her. You know, I was always used to a woman like just pretty much pushing me away or not really giving me the time for day or really saying that they love me, but really didn't show it with their actions. And I can actually say that, with her, she just really showed me all the support in the world and, all the love and, and it just really, persevering me. So, I mean, that's something that I'm really good about it. Definitely a great, I like, a right.
Okay, okay. So my she in the room. Hi, I didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything. I already warned the sisters out there. Don't cut him. Don't cut me. No. I'm all being in fun. So I'm moving on to my set questions now. Back to my set questions. So so now you have the two books. What's next on the agenda for you?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Now that you have two books, what's next on the agenda for you?
Right now, I'm just still trying to promote more. I'm actually still promoting like my second book and also still trying to promote the first book. I'm actually in the midst of trying to write a third book. But the third book, I don't believe is going to be a poetry book this time. But I think like certain monologues that's in the book is going to be some poetry, but it's going to be more of like a novel book.
Okay.
So it's something I'm working on right now.
Okay. Do you have any tours, any book signings, anything coming up?
Supposedly in April 25th. Really depending on the Army, because as of now, I was supposed to be PCS, out of this Princeton area, to somewhere else. But as of now, they're saying that they're not going to move me until I actually get promoted to a sergeant, in which I actually go to the board. The board is pretty much where they test me on my skills to see if I'm ready to be a sergeant.
Cool.
And I will be greeted by the sergeant major as well as first sergeant. And they're going to ask me like certain topics of the Army standards, and certain regulations. They're going to ask me questions to see if I know it or not. And of course, as well as knowing to see if I know my NCO creed. So right now, I'm also really studying hard and making sure that I'm prepared. So when the board comes, I'll be able to pass it.
Okay. Well, I'll be praying for you on that, most definitely.
Thank you.
So, and like I said, once you get that, everything will be all gravy, my man. Definitely. So.
Right.
So how can your fans get in contact with you? Do you have a website or other points of contact?
Yes, they can actually go on my Facebook. On my Facebook, it's facebook.com/wisdom.spoken. Or they can also go on Instagram, which is official wisdom spoken _promotion. Or they can also go on Twitter, which is wisdom_spoken26. And I also have a Reverb Nations account, which all you have to do is just type my name, which is Maurice Bishop. And I have some tracks that's on there of me like performing my spoken word poetry piece with music in the background. But they can actually hear some of the
part of the show where I usually give you the final word, where I ask if you got any final words of wisdom, if you any advice for any new upcoming authors out there.
Yeah. I do. It's pretty much me just telling them if there's any upcoming authors, they just need to believe in their work. If they believe in their work and they have a passion for it, then the conversation will come. But you must have a passion for it. You must love what you're doing. And anytime you're writing, and just tell the truth. Speak the truth from your heart. And when you do that and you do it with a passion, then everybody will believe everything that you're saying.
Another awesome interview with another awesome author. Also, too, if you notice, he was also with Strawberry Publications, which is also the same company that our next author, Laqueisha Malone, is a part of. In fact, she's the founder, the CEO. She does everything. She is the woman. So to know more about her, all you need to do is watch a couple commercials, come back next.
Are we getting any closer, Mark?
Before his book, Murder by Execution, is released, get to know investigative reporter Mark Alexander in his first 2 books by author H.D. Campbell. Late Murder at 10. Find the murder of news anchor killed on the air. Start, The Virtual Killer. Track down a very dangerous cyber serial killer before the body count rises. Get both books at your favorite bookstore at Amazon.com and other online outlets. Also available on Kindle and Nook.
Hi, this is Luna Charles. I'm the author of Men Are Not the Problem. I know what you're thinking, ladies. Men are the problem, but really and truly, let's learn to take our lives into our hands and deal with our relationship. This is the story of a young woman that realized that loving somebody else more than you love yourself is not the answer to love. Follow her journey so that you can maybe figure out the same thing. Or you may say she's wrong. Either way, it's a great
Welcome
story.
back to the Office Corner. My next interview with Laqueisha Malone, founder, CEO, author. She does it all. She started Strawberry Publications, which our last author, Maurice Bishop, is a proud client of hers. She does a lot. She has a lot going on. Here's her story.
Well, I have been writing ever since before I could remember, and it started out with stories. I used to love to read, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, and things like that, and I would literally rewrite the whole entire story, And I can say I began about the 5th grade. I began to journalize my day-to-day events, and my mom found my little journal and read it. Yeah, so all of it, all the stories, everything I had, she read it, and I fictionalized everything with characters and different places, of course, but she said, oh, this is about you and your friend. Huh? You knew that?
Uh-oh.
But I threw it away. I began to write poetry. So I got into poetry, I can say about 12 years old, 13 years old, I began to write poetry. So my first few books are poetry.
Okay. So at what point did you decide, from the time your mom looked at your journal to the point where you really wanted to write seriously, to the point where you wanted to be published?
I can say that I discovered through poetry that you could disguise and people would not know a specific person that you're talking about, whether it's you or someone else. It could kind of be very broad. It could relate to anyone. So I began to write my thoughts and feelings on paper in poetry style. And as the years went by, I had a lot of support. I had my mom, I had my English teacher who used to make her curriculum around my poetry, just so I could write and then she would read it. And she would always tell me to do something with it. So I had a friend one time told me, you need to go ahead and publish. And I'm like, nah, not me. This is not for me. And I gave it a little bit of thought and a little bit of encouragement from my mother, and I just looked it up and decided to do it,
Cool. And so we just had a discussion off camera. Tell me about your first published work.
Okay, well, I have been published 3 times. My first was 2008.
Well, first, before we go on ahead, let's go with your first what was your first item published? Then we'll go up a little. Yes.
Okay. My first item published was a poetry book.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a lot of my poems in it, but I was afraid to go deep with it.
Right.
So I tried to just take out a little bit that wasn't so real.
Right.
And I hated myself for that later. And I found a self-publisher and I went with them. And I took about 3 years of trying to figure out what to do with it once it was published. Because I knew nothing. And I began to just learn what it took to publish.
Right.
And how to market, just a little bit, things like that, so that I could do better for the next project.
All right.
And yeah, so that was the first one. It was just a little bit of poetry, and I have my book here. You want to see?
Yes.
All right, this was the first book.
Hold it up for a minute. I'm going to close up. Cool. All right.
Oh, you got it?
Yes.
Okay, that was my first book, but I was not happy with it at all. I knew I sold myself short on that one, not keeping it real with my poetry. And so 3 years later, in 2011, I decided to do it again.
Okay.
But this time, I knew enough about how to get published that I want to do it myself, and I did. And to this day, I call that book my baby. That is my baby, because I worked so hard, and I prayed for so long on what to do with this book. And I compiled it with almost 100 and some poems, but I put everything that was real, the deep feelings, the stuff I didn't want somebody else to read. You want to see that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, here this one is.
Ooh. Get out of the mind.
Cell of the Mind.
Cell of the mind. I'm sorry, I couldn't read this. Sorry.
Yeah, and this is a model I hired. Well, I worked with. I found her and we worked it out. She gave me what I asked for.
Wonderful.
I went from cover, interior, everything all by myself. And I can say from there, I had a lot of people telling me that, oh, you should start your own company. And I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. But I began to work with other people who, my second book got me much more awareness than my first book. Everybody was telling me things like, oh, your second book looked more professional and, all these other things. And I'm like, wow, I did that. I didn't go through nobody else. And I felt like, well, maybe I could help somebody else. And I began to help little friends along the way. And I was like, wow, I'm doing all this. I wasn't getting paid for it. So I was like, yeah, I could start up a company. I'm helping these people publish 3, 4, 5 books. I'm getting left behind. So I took 3 years again to just learn the business side of what would it take to start my own company. And in 2013, that's what I did. And then here comes 2014, I birthed my third project, which is here.
Ooh.
And A Walk in My Shoes, which it is the first book. I took it out of print with the company I had because it wasn't doing anything anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it out and I put all of the poetry inside, but I added more that I hadn't published for most of it was in my high school years. Mm-hmm. And I geared it around taking a walk in my shoes. A trip down memory lane is the subtitle for it. Because I wanted people to see what teenagers really can go through. And at the time I had, when I was writing and doing the poetry and stuff, people was telling me, oh, you're too young to understand these feelings. You're too young to know what
I
it
hate
is.
that.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that word, you're too young, because I feel like I may be young, 15, 16 years old, but having a relationship, a teenage relationship, you still go through problems. You're still trying to come to yourself and still be a teenager, but you're halfway in the middle of being grown. And you kept hearing people say, oh, you're too young, you don't understand, you don't know what love is, you don't know what this is. And I felt like, I may not know what you know because I'm not where you are, but I know how I feel right now. So. with my third book, I wanted to emphasize on that. So whoever can relate to this book, you know, you relate to the feelings of a teenager, right?
Absolutely. You know what? You know when you said that interview, and please don't take this the wrong way. It's meant to be funny. When you say, you know, because I hate. Well, number one, I truly hate when adults say you don't understand because you're young. You don't know what people understand, no matter what age. But on the funny side,
Okay.
you remember the Keith Sweat song that say "You may be young, but you're ready." That's what that reminded me of when you told me that. We wrote that book. You must be listening to Keith Sweat in the mind. You may be young, but no. Okay, I'm not gonna sing.
But regardless, people should know that. I mean, you go through breakups as teenagers, and people look at you and say, "Oh, you're too young. You know, you'll have many more." I'm not worried about my future because my parents ain't right there in this shot.
Right.
And I need help right now.
Right. Exactly.
So I just wanted, when I put the book together, I was like, maybe I can just show that and shed some light that, you know, us young people, we have feelings and they're real. Even though at the moment it was never meant to be, you couldn't tell us that, but the feeling was still real. Or if it's just not that far, period. I mean,
Exactly.
it's horrible, the things that no one wanted to share with you. And I was feeling like, why not? Somebody had to tell you. I mean, somebody had to gear you, whether you figured it all out the rest of the way by yourself. Somebody had to steer you somewhere. So why not offer it and become a servant, offer a service for somebody in need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as an author, how have your fans received you?
How has what?
How have your fans received you as an author?
They all tell me great someday. They tell me that I'm gonna be seen on TV someday. They believe in me a lot because I'm always going to them with my new projects, new thoughts, new ideas, just with everything. I will word them with all of my thoughts and ideas. And my mom, she's a great promoter. She loves to brag and promote me. And my dad, he's a great investor. He buys everything that I do.
Cool.
He bought my very first book. He bought 10 copies of it because I would go to his place of business because he owned his own business, and I would go and I would get on his internet and I'd check to see if I had a sale today. And I would be so sad. I would be so sad. And one day I came and I said, "Oh my God, Daddy, somebody bought 10 copies. I think it's gonna be a bookstore, you know." And I'm just thinking all kind of crazy thoughts. And he said, "Oh, no kidding." I said, "Yes, sir." And he threw a box in my face full of books. I was like, "No, you didn't."
Uh-oh.
And so he did me the same way with the second book. He bought 10 copies and he said, "I need you to sign it." I said, "Are you serious, Daddy?"
Wow.
He did it again. And so with my third book, he bought 50. So that was super amazing.
So would you like a show one day?
Say it again?
Would you like a show one day?
Would I do what?
Would you like a show one day, or something you want to do more with your publishing or anything like that?
Yes, I would love it. Something geared for the kids, I would love it. You know, if I can help in any kind of way. I got a couple of projects that I'm working on, and I'm hoping that it can get to the main screen one day or something like that.
Well, it'll get there because with your positivity and everything that's going on, it will definitely get there. I love these interviews because I love the positive energy that flows, and it you know, the positivity just exceeds everywhere. So
I agree.
You know,
I totally agree.
Which brings me to a question I'm gonna wait till later, but I'm gonna ask you now. Since you're like myself are a veteran of this literary industry.
Oh, I'm a veteran. Oh, yes.
Yeah, you're definitely a veteran. Oh, trust me, you're a veteran. You've been in this for a long time. Much like myself. How do you feel about the state of us working together in the literary industry? Do you think we're working together great? Do you think that there's too much competition going on? What do you think?
too much competition. That would be what I would say. From day one up until now, it's getting better, I feel. I don't know if that's because I'm meeting new people, but I'm always saying, what is the competition for? I don't write what you write. I don't write the way you write. So there's nothing wrong with advice. There's nothing wrong with a little push. There's nothing wrong with conversation. If it's gearing to network and help, and I truly feel that it's not expressed the way it could be. Things could be a lot better if we could just come together and realize that maybe I do write urban fiction, I don't know, but I'm not the same writer you are. So we still can feed off each other and grow and learn from each other. And we rock it. I'm Port, you urban. We can still somehow learn from each other. I mean, it can happen.
I 100% agree. I tell people all the time, there's enough room on that bestseller list for everyone. We just need to quit the fighting and just write. And don't worry about what the next person is doing.
Right, exactly. And it's sad to say, but since I have been from my second book up to now, it's been weird. Some of the things that I've come in contact with, as far as trying to seek help, figuring out the networking section. No, I didn't know anything, and it was very hard to find any author who was willing to just open up and share. You know, I had one lady that came to my aid, and she shared a lot. And her thing was, I'm not going to tell you everything. I'm not. She said, I'm going to tell you this, but you have to go research because that's far as I'm going. Mm-hmm. And I loved it because it made me work hard, appreciate everything that I was learning. And she was telling me, you can't trust my word for it. I'm telling you this part. That's that I know. So you're going to have to go and figure that out. I thank her for that. Shout out to Shania Green Idell.
Cool. Wow, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So now, what's your next project? Got any more projects coming up soon?
How many do I have? Constantly moving, constantly thinking, and constantly doing. I can say that I have a book that I'm set for release in June for the summer, and it's a young adult fiction, and it's titled Secrets Amongst Friends. It's geared toward two high school teenagers who are, come from two different worlds and have these secrets and how they will have to battle and handle it so that it doesn't take over them. So, I'm hoping this proceeds well.
Cool.
Then it'll be my first actual novel piece, so.
It'll be received well because it's you, number one. Number two, you're talented, so you'll get there. Trust me.
I'm hoping. So far, the people I've met read these little parts I have, they're ready. They're ready. And I'm like, yes, they laughed, they cried. I'm like, okay, that's what I wanted. I got it.
See, like I say, if your readers don't invoke an emotion, then you haven't written a good book. When they start invoking emotion, you've written a damn good book. So if you're saying they laughed and they cried, you're doing very well.
Yeah, it was amazing to stand there and hear them bust out laughing. Actually, in my first book, I had put a short story in the front before my poetry. And everyone, I couldn't find one person who actually read the poetry and read the story.
Right.
And they wanted more of the story. And I said, wait a minute, what about the poetry? They said, well, I'm not a big fan of poetry, but that story was hitting. So,
see, I love that.
Yeah, so I have to deliver.
That's fine. That's fine. So now my next question is, how can I get to know Miss Laqueisha Balloon? Where can I buy her books? Where can I learn more about her company? Are you accepting submissions? Things like that.
I am accepting submissions. I don't turn away the idea to find out what's out. I don't publish any or everything, but I will see what's out there. But you can find my books on Amazon. And my second one is with Nook. I'm working on putting my third one on Nook. And you can find me at Barnes and Nobles, just about anywhere online. So, and I have a website, laqueishamalone.com. And Strawberry Publications is under construction right now.
Okay. Now, what does Laqueisha like to do when she's not writing or running a company?
That's hard, because I'm always writing. And I'm always trying to figure out how to excel in my company. It's so new to me, so everything about it excites me. So I'm constantly trying new things with it, and I don't know, I'm always writing. I love that part. No matter where I go, what I do. I used to have a job, and I would take the napkins on my break and take a pen, and I would write. And it's in my books, of course, the stuff I wrote. And people used to always say, I'm gonna know you one day, and say, I remember you used to write on napkins. So I'm constantly writing, or something. So if you want to know what I like to do in my any spare time I have.
Yeah, I love that. You are way too much like me. This is scary.
I mean, even if I was bowling or something, my mind is not. It's there, but I'm somewhere else too. So.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, we're way too much alike on that. So do you have a website? Huh? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I do like to do recreational activity type things and simple stuff. I'm not a basketball player or anything. I'm a fan, but not a player, so I wouldn't do that. But
Right.
bowling, pool, things of that nature.
Cool.
It's fun.
Okay. All right. And my final question is: I always give you the final word. Any wisdom, words of advice, anything you want to do to anyone trying to get to your position now?
Sure. My words of advice or wisdom would have to be for authors is to always do your homework, always research, and never be afraid to be a servant, or offer a service. Because your reward is always greater in the end. And I love young people, so I can always say, it's never as bad as it always seems. It's a struggle, but that's the only to make you stronger. So that's what they want.
And yes, like I said, the Laqueisha Malone website is under construction right now. It will have new content here coming soon. Stay tuned for updates. Now, when we come back, I'll have a final thought, and then I'll say goodbye. Relationship issues or questions about loving yourself? Check out my newest columnist, Sharita Newsom. Her column provides tell it like it is advice from a personal perspective. Get to know Sharita Newsom on my HD Insider page website at www.hdcampbell3.net. And as always, let your writing fuel your spirit.
Ever experienced a love for someone so forbidden, feels so wrong, but yet his passion makes you feel oh so right? Even if you have, meet Solomon and Sheba, my award-winning author, Francine Kraft, and experience it all again. Experience the roadblocks of pregnancy, past transgressions, and the deathbed confession threatens the most powerful of romances. Can they survive? By Solomon and Sheba from your favorite bookstore, Amazon, and BarnesandNoble.com.
Welcome back to the show. I wanted to go over a few changes coming up to the show here real soon. We're going to have new shows with new experts talking about a whole range of different writers and authors topics. With the help of the great Laqueisha Malone and a few other different experts, we're going to expand the show. I'll also be doing more shows on location. We'll be here, we'll be there throughout St. Louis. In fact, we're going to go to a lot of exotic places, and there'll be a lot more events, which means I'll be doing a lot of shows live from different events I will be involved in and my clients will be involved in. Well, that's the Office Corner. Until next time, peace, and as always, let your writing fuel your spirit, and God bless.